Welcome to Radio Hound Tube Radio Restorations channel. This is John from Indiana, and today's we're going to continue on with understanding schematics. We're going to do the inverter and the power amplifier section of the schematic and kind of show you how the signal moves through that. So I hope you enjoy it today. It shouldn't take very long to go through that, and I'm just going to go over just a light view of it, because when we actually start working on the radio, you'll see a lot more in that area. So without further ado, we're going to bring you the video. Thank you. Hi, and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be going into the audio section of the radio, and this is where I'm going to enter into this inverter to be able to deal with the phase. But to handle that, we're actually going to start right here at the output transformer and work our way back. That way, if you understand what happens here, you'll understand why you have to do what you do here. All right, so right here we have a coil that is a longer coil, and then you got on the other side of that coil is a shorter one. Well, this coil right here is inside the output transformer, and usually it's hanging off the side of the speaker. This particular speaker is not for this radio, and it has an external speaker plug too, but the main speaker plug is right here. And you can find that by looking over here. I've got the multimeter hooked on, and you can see what your ohms is for across that coil. And right now I have 193 ohms across this coil right here. Well, if I have a center tap, that means half of this is going to be half of those ohms, and the other half is going to be the other half of the ohms, okay? So our signal, or our power, comes in through the center tap and goes in and feeds these two plates right here. Well, when you break a coil and give it a center tap, that means whatever's happening on one side is doing the opposite on the other side. It has a mirror image of it. So if you have your and we'll pretend that that this is your 0 volts line right here, this big black line. Well, this is your signal coming in, and that would be what would be coming into the grid of this side right here. Well, then on the grid on this side, it's going to be the opposite of that. I don't know where to draw my other line, but the other line will be opposite of that. So we go down and then up, and then down and then up, and that'd be your 0 volts line right there. And that'd be exactly opposite of that. So you have a hump up on one side and then a hump down on the other side. It'd be totally mirror image of that hump. Well, because of that, you want these two tubes working together, not against each other. And if you don't invert your signal into these grid lines opposite of each other, if you try to put them in there the same, then one would be pulling this way and one would be pulling that way, and they'd be pulling against each other. Or if you had them the same facing each other, you'd have one going in forcing itself this way and one forcing itself this way. Well, then you're going to be fighting against yourself. But if you had both of them pulling that way or both of them pulling this way, then that's going to give you a strong, good signal using both of these tubes to your advantage. Well, to get that, you have to invert that phase. So when we're coming out of this plate right here, we might have this signal going like this. Well, it just passes straight through this capacitor and comes over here and goes to the grid. So that's what the signal you got coming in here. So now coming out of the other side, we have to give it this opposite thing that it has, or otherwise you'll be fighting against yourself. So what it does is it comes down through this tube. As soon as it passes that capacitor, it goes down through this tube and goes into the grid of this tube. There's a couple rules that you got to follow. One is if you have a signal coming in on the grid, it always reverses that signal going to the plate. So that's why we run it into this tube, run it into the grid, and whatever comes out on this one right here is going to be exact opposite, because you have whatever comes in on the grid, it's going to flip it when it goes to the plate, and that's actually on any of these, it's going to reverse it. If something comes in on the grid, the plate's going to have reverse. It's just a rule. And then if you have anything coming on the grid, the cathode will follow it. So whatever the grid is, it'll be the same on the cathode, but on the plate, it will reverse it. And that's why we're running it through this grid. We're doing a little bit of grid bias with this resistor right here, going into the grid, and then it flips that signal upside down, and that's where it comes out to the grid of this one. So we have a signal on this grid going up and down, and then we have the one on this grid going down and up. And that gives you your two opposite to each other, and it's going to have this phase where they both pull against or with each other. When it's going back and forth and it's oscillating back and forth, they're pulling together, and it gives you a very strong signal right here. There's a few other things that happen here, but I don't think that's relevant to what we want to talk about right now. All we're doing is talking about our signal going through. So our signal comes in here, we got good audio, and then it comes across here, and then that audio gets sent straight to this grid, but then it also comes down here and gets flipped, and it gets sent to this grid. So now we got two powerhouses right here. These are power amp tubes, and those tubes are very strong and very hot. You wouldn't want to touch one of these because they carry a lot of watts, they're over 200 degrees. So you don't want to put your hands on those. And on the top, they get really hot, and that means they're doing a great job. The thing you do want to do is make sure that these are in balance when you test your tubes. You want to make sure that this tube tests pretty close to that one, so they don't have one overworking, one doing more work than the other one. You want to balance these two tubes out. But this is called a push-pull system right here. So if you hear anybody say does that radio have push-pull tubes? If you see two tubes together like that are output tubes, yes, it's a push-pull. And what it's doing is, on this coil, it's pushing and it's pulling, but they're both doing it together. They're both pushing that way, and then they're both pulling that way. And it's giving you a really strong signal. Now, here again, these are your coupling capacitors that couple to the grid. See how you're coming off your plate? Couple capacitor and go to the grid. So you want to make sure you replace those capacitors that you have here. Now I'm going to do it on the next video, I think, but on the next video we're going to talk about what happens inside this output transformer into the speaker, because there's a little bit to talk about there, because these output tubes, they have to have a load resistance on them, and you don't want too much load resistance and you don't want too little load resistance, but the load resistance that you got on them, if you do something on this side, it's going to be multiplied, because see, there's a lot less coils on this side. So if I make a change on this side, it's going to multiply that time a bunch. So if I put the wrong speaker, because this is your speaker, and I'll show you that when we get to the speaker, but let's just say that's 4 or 8 ohms. Well, what if you put a 16 ohm speaker on the other end of that right there? What would that do? That 16 times whatever you got right here. Right now it's only got, let's say, a 4 ohm, and then whatever that, and it's called a winding ratio, the ratio between here and here. Well, that ratio multiplies, and that load resistance coming back on these tubes, you may fry these tubes if you put a big speaker on here. You need to keep that balance. So we'll talk about that. I think, I say, there's just a little too much information there that don't need to be included in this video. The bottom line is, we have the inverter that inverts that signal for the other tube down here. There's 100 different ways, like you can study on phase inversion. There's more than just this way of inverting that phase. You can do it with single tube. You can do it with multiple tubes. I know of another Zenith that uses a couple different 6J5s in there and does phase inversion. But bottom line is, you have to have two opposite signals that'll work together when they're, like, when one's doing positive, they're doing negative, and they'll work together in that cycle, and they help each other instead of fighting against each other. We're almost done with this part. Like I say, I want to talk a little bit on the next video about this speaker section, because the speaker, there's some important stuff there that you need to know. And then I I haven't really decided the next step. What I'm trying to do, and it looks a little disjointed, I know, but everything has a purpose. I showed you the power supply first because I wanted you to see how DC flowed through this schematic. I want you to understand where your DC is going and everything, so you knew how to follow that and trace that through the schematic. Now, everything I've done in the last few videos, I've tried to show you how the AC signal travels through the radio, because you want to know, okay, I hear radio over here, but I don't hear it over here because I put my signal tracer somewhere here and I got good radio, but I lost it over here. Well, you can figure out what the path is, because you need to know your path through here, and you need to know what's supposed to be happening and what's not happening all the way through here. So this is important. It's all about reading the schematic still, but it's understanding that signal flow through this paper right here, because we can understand it in the radio itself maybe, but we got to understand this paper, because if you're going to track something and try to this is all about troubleshooting is where I'm headed, I guess. When you're troubleshooting your radio, when you fire this thing up and nothing happens, or something happens crazy or whatever, you got to get on here and look at this and try to figure out, okay, where is my problem? So if you know the flows and the paths of these things, so that's what I've been trying to do with these videos, is breaking into these groups of flows and paths through this schematic. Now we'll deal more. I'm going to get into just the basic wiring. Probably coming up next is, how, like being able to follow these wires that's in here, so we know, okay, what does that wire do? I don't know, and I think that would be interesting for you to kind of figure out why, because you'll find out, and to me that's probably the most frustrating thing that you can figure out, I guess, is when other people that don't know what they're doing get their hands on the radio, and you'll figure that out. Like example, man, this is a good one. Look at that right there. That's a wire. It's running down through here, but now it's got a wire that's wrapped around it, and look, it's not even hooked to anything. So did somebody mess up there? Is that just somebody that was working through here and thought, you know what, I'm just going to hook a wire from there and wrap it around that? Or is that something that's actually on a schematic like that? And this is what you'll spend most of your time trying to figure out. And I think that's what we're going to do next, is just try to start looking at some of this stuff in our radio and actually look at the schematic, and let's see what's going on there. What is that? Something that some guy that didn't know what he was doing messing around, or is that something that's actually legitimately on that schematic? And I've found so many errors where people have got in here and done things. Also, I found things that I thought were errors, and you get on the schematic and it's exactly how they planned it to be. The engineers set that up, and then it makes me go dig and try to find out why. Why did they do that? What was the motivation for that? And so this is probably the next step once we get this last video on this part, on the audio path. But there's 1,000 other things I could have said in through here, and we're going to be saying them, but I wanted to layer it on, so when we actually start working on radios, I can say, oh, I'll add this on, and I'll say, okay, they're ready to learn this little part. But I just giving you the basic steps through here, so you can kind of help trace an audio path if you're having trouble. All right, if you have any questions, please reach out. I am totally willing and able to answer any of those questions you might have. I hope that you guys have been studying on those numbers I gave you. I gave you 0 through 9, and 0 through 9 have colors to them, and I want you to say the colors and give me the numbers. That's going to help us, because when we start this wire path through here, we're going to be coming across resistors, and I'm going to have you read them to me and tell me what they are. And I think it'll help you to grow a lot, because I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what resistor that was. What is that resistor? Okay. Now, after a while, if you memorize those colors I gave you on the last couple videos ago, yeah, I know. Just glancing at that's a 10K. I don't even have to think, because I memorized it. I know it's a 10K. It's 10,000 K is what it is, and that's the kind of, it helps you when you're doing your stuff because you can do it just like real quick, and you don't have to go look in a book or look on a chart. You had it memorized, okay? And see, I know that one is like a 220,000 K is what that is. So it's a large resistor, carries a lot of resistance, 220,000. But you can look at that. The other thing you'll look when we get into the resistors is look at the size of that guy and the size of that guy, and you think, okay, man, that must be a monster resistor. I bet that's, and the size has to do with the watts. If you have a bigger resistor like that, it's a larger watt resistor. And this messed me up when I first started on these old radios. I see these, what they call these kind of resistors like that are dog bone resistors, because they look like a dog bone. And I used to think, man, that must be like 20 watts. Nope, not even. But I'll go over that. I don't want to confuse you right now on this video. Hope you enjoyed today's video. We're gonna be digging into this radio really soon now. I just wanted to give you all this preliminary stuff because it's going to help you. I do have maybe a couple more videos before we actually start on the wiring part, but because I want to go over these papers that print out too, so you have a good feel for flipping through those too. All right, if you have any questions, please reach out, like and subscribe, and thank you for your time today. You look beautiful. Will you look at me? Will you look at your dad? How you doing, Will? Still in a lot of pain. Surgery in 2 more days. So, good luck, Willow. Hey, good luck for your surgery. Bye-bye. Hope you enjoyed today's class. We just get a view of the tail end of the radio there as you're coming through the output section, the amplifier. And the next one we do, we're going to go just a real short video on how it passes through that output transformer into the speaker, just so you can get a view of that. And then I got a few other things lined up for us, and when we get into that, we're going to actually start looking at the radio itself and working our way through, and that way we'll learn the wiring part of the schematic. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching today. Bye-bye.